Tovo?
Yes, thanks. I appreciate the opportunity to do that. This has obviously been obvious to anybody up on the dais, our staff, the audience members. Some of you have been here all week. This has been a very challenging process. And, as I think about it, it doesn't really need to be. And I would and will continue to encourage us all to see if we can build council consensus and community consensus around a plan. I believe it's possible. I believe we're not there at this stage. I do want to thank my staff and the other council staff before I go any further in my talking points, and all of our land development code staff and the other staff who have supported us. This has been tremendously time-consuming for everyone, especially because of the abbreviated schedule. And we may not always agree on everything, but I really appreciate all the work that all of our staff have done throughout this week, and again, the land development code staff as well. So, in my amendments, I really strove for that balance of amendments that would help us accommodate that new growth that we all agree is necessary, while also just not working against displacing existing residents. I'm really disappointed, as I indicated earlier, that some of my amendments, which I thought were extremely reasonable, including the one to have an on-site unit in the high opportunity areas, I'm disappointed that those didn't succeed. And I really hope that in the times in our meetings between now and the third reading, we can do more authentic listening to one another and see where we can achieve some consensus. I wanted to say to the community, both to my constituents and to other community members, in the next couple of weeks, Council Members Kitchen, Poole, Alter, and I are going to be presenting an alternative path that we believe could lead to a community consensus. It builds on the amendments that we introduced during these last several days, all of which I believe were defeated, but I believe they have a lot of merit, and together represent that collective path forward that I believe gets us to a community consensus. Our plan is going to propose significantly reducing the transition zones and building on Councilmember Kitchen and Poole's amendment policy direction from last May. It's going to propose a planning process that empowers communities to recommend their own changes for accommodating additional density in ways not just compatible with the existing housing, but also with the existing residents. Many of the most dramatic changes have been proposed not on vacant land and greenfield areas, but on top of and even in the middle of existing neighborhoods that are just the types of complete communities we say we'd like to see in every part of the city. And I think we had some really powerful testimony earlier today when we had a whole slate of individuals asking us to please let them be involved in guiding the changes that are proposed for their communities. And as we've heard from members of the public who have weighed in against this process, against the mapping and against the draft code, the thousands who have emailed, who have called, who have attended meetings and lodged formal protests, we've heard consistent messaging. They care about their neighborhoods. They understand their neighborhoods are going to change over time, and they want to be participants in and help design that change. And I think they deserve to have that opportunity. The map that we just voted on doesn't really reflect that approach. The transition zones were a creation of this council, not a concept included in the Imagine Austin Comprehensive Plan, the reason we had to have number 2 on our agenda. They've become the term used to describe areas with significant upstonings that have been distributed and crafted inconsistently and unevenly across the city, and even in the case of my district, District 9, inconsistently and unevenly within the same council district. And, as that chart we just looked at illustrates, you can see that pretty clearly when you look at those numbers. In my district, just about 3,000 parcels are proposed for upzoning, existing housing being proposed for upzoning, almost 3,000. In RM1, a category that allows up to 11 units, have been mapped on about 1,100, more than 1,100 properties in District 9. Another council district has 14 mapped with RM1 zoning. So just in conclusion, the current mapping, in my opinion, does not seem to be encouraging a diversity of uses and a diversity of density in all parts of the city. I think substantially increasing the number of units that can be on a residential property without capturing more value for affordable housing is, in my opinion, a missed opportunity toward achieving our ambitious housing goals. And I am, at this point, concerned about how transition zones are going to help our neighborhoods become more walkable, more dynamic, or more affordable. So I've heard from many of you, and you've heard, our council has heard from constituents across the city. They want to work collaboratively on a more context-sensitive, phased approach to creating more housing opportunities and creating those complete communities. They believe, and I agree, that the approach we've currently taken doesn't require that achieving those housing opportunities and complete communities doesn't require embracing extensive transition zonings that could transform their neighborhoods beyond recognition. So I do believe there's a positive path forward. I believe there's a positive path forward to a place of community and council consensus. It is not the path we're currently on. And as a consistent and a steadfast supporter of transit and our mobility plans, I want to add that based on what I'm hearing from my constituents and others, I think it is critical that generating enthusiasm and excitement around the Project Connect vision and the funding necessary to achieve it really requires us to work harder on building that consensus around the land development code. I think it's absolutely critical. I still believe we can craft a revised code and a map that reflects consensus and builds a positive vision for Austin's future, and I'm committed to supporting such a code, and I'm going to continue to work toward achieving that vision. And again, I invite the community to stay engaged. Please stay engaged. We need your great ideas, and I hope you will help us shape and support that alternative path forward.